Hello and good afternoon, everyone. It's Jason with PCC. I hope everyone's having a great week. I hope everyone is looking forward to the holiday weekend. And I can't think of anybody who loves it more than my son. He loves dressing up. He loves trick-or-treating. As some of you know, he has autism. So he's not much of a talker outside of his small bubble. Even inside that small bubble, it's very, very limited on what he's going to vocally express. But during Halloween and all through the holiday season, he's just a little more open. He loves to talk about it. He just wants to be able to get as much out of this season as he possibly can. I think the last 3 years he's gone as Blue from Jurassic World, dresses up as her. Really cute outfit, costume, and this year he's got me dressed up as the Indoraptor. So that'll be fun. I've never done that before. I'm not big on masks, especially with my glasses. I can't really see where I'm going. So we'll see how this goes. Usually, most of you guys know I dress up, I usually have the Scottish attire. I usually go walking around in that. That's been kind of my go-to, but my son has changed that up this year, so we'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, I thought we would just have some fun and maybe get into a couple ghost stories of the Bible. So I resourced this from crosswalk.com, and it's from Sean McAvoy. He is the senior editor of crosswalk.com, and I'll put all that information up either through the video or maybe up at the end. But you guys will have that, and it'll also be in the page down below of the video. So we are going to go over some of those, but maybe we'll just kind of get into a little intro here to begin. So what do you think? Fierce creatures, disembodied hands, bodies rising from graves, witches summoning spirits of the dead, not horror movie plots, but things that are recorded in our Holy Bible. We live in a world where our every explanation for it is built upon the supernatural, a fact we sometimes tend to ignore, especially at this time of year, because we also know there's a dark side of that realm. We also know that fear is a very real, very confusing, and very destructive force, but has been overcome through Christ and the Spirit God has given us. Still, there is perhaps something to be gained by studying instances in the Word where scary things happened, where godly men and women are frightened, even where lines that should not be crossed regarding the supernatural were crossed. What better time to reflect upon these things and be thankful we have been given spiritual armor than at the time of this year. So let's get into, we're going to get into the book of Daniel 5. This relates the story of, it's called The Knocking Kingly Knees. So let's set the story here. The music was playing and the dancers were dancing. It was the king's great feast with 1,000 lords in attendance. The king was making merry and called to bring forth the golden and silver vessels taken out of the temple in Jerusalem by his father, Nebuchadnezzar. You probably see where this is going. When they were brought out, his lords, wives, and concubines drank from them and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. So basically the worshiping false idols. Suddenly a hand appeared and wrote on a wall. There you go. We're already into it. The king was frightened, so frightened that his knees began to knock together and finally gave out from beneath him. He called for the soothsayers and the enchanters and proclaimed that anyone who could interpret the writing on the wall would have bestowed upon them a purple robe, a golden chain, and would be given the position of third most powerful person in the kingdom. But none of them were able to decipher the writing on the wall. Now, I don't know if about you, but me, seeing a hand writing what looks like in blood on the wall I don't think I would be doing any better than what Nebuchadnezzar would be doing. So let's keep going on. The queen heard the king's fear and told him of a man named Daniel who had served his father. She spoke of Daniel's wisdom and recommended that her husband send for Daniel. The king summoned him and told him of what would be given if he could just interpret the writing on the wall. Daniel told the king that he could keep his riches and give his rewards to someone else, but that he would still render an explanation. Daniel first told how the king's father Nebuchadnezzar had become arrogant and prideful, that he was stripped of his glory and given the mind of an animal and was sent to live in the fields like a wild donkey. He remained like this until he acknowledged that the Most High God is sovereign over the kingdoms of men. But then Daniel turned to the king. But you have not humbled yourself despite knowing all this that your father went through. Instead, you have set yourself up against the Most High God. You had the goblets brought from his temple and used them to drink wine and to praise false gods. This is why he was sent the hand. Says here, I doubt that Adam's family realized that his hand's ancestor went back to the ancestors. It was written, Mene Mene Tekel Parsin. This means that you have weighed on the scales and found wanting. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. How many times have you heard that saying? You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. I don't know. I like movies. I like watching movies, and can't remember any offhand. But I feel like there's a lot of movies that utilize that term. Now you know it comes from the Bible. What are some of the other scary things that God has used in order to deliver messages? Has God ever used something scary in order to teach you something? So our next story goes to Mark 6 and John 6. This is called The Posse and the Ghost on the Water. The men had been waiting for their leader. He had left them to go be alone for a while, which I'm sure Jesus needed. I know that there's a lot of stuff in the Bible, or a lot of times in the Bible where it'll say, he went off by himself. And when you're doing a lot of just the stuff that he was doing, the miracles that he was doing, the people he was reaching, the conversations he was having, I could only imagine that, yes, that he would need that time to just reflect and talk with God and just have that those calming moments. They had come to respect his desire for these alone times. There you go. And so when evening came, they decided to head off across the sea without him. By now it was quite dark, and a wind had blown up as it so often did upon the seas. The rough waters crashed against the sides of the boat, and the wind whistled through the lines as the men struggled against the oars. It was when they were about 3 miles out that they saw the ghost. It was coming straight towards them, and they were afraid. Who wouldn't be? On land, one could at least run, right? So if you're on land, you can at least run away from whatever the thing is that is scaring you. But that's one thing. But at sea, all one could really do was to just row harder. Then the ghost spoke, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." So then the ghost spoke, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." It was then that the disciples realized the ghost was actually Jesus, who had walked out to them upon the water. Have there been times when you were afraid of God? What did you learn during those times of fear? What stormy waters have you encountered that you received comfort knowing that Jesus was with you through them? And then this one here is Day of the Living Dead. This is Matthew 27. And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split. The tombs broke open, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many people. As I was reading this, like I said, some of my favorite ways of just reading the Bible is, you've read, things multiple times, and, you lock in on little things here and there, and they really speak to you maybe in that moment. But I don't know, this is kind of the first time that I'm just really kind of taking really open look at, I guess I just don't ever really think of the bodies of many holy people who had died, were raised to life. I guess, I always focus in on, obviously Jesus dying, his resurrection, the curtain in the temple was torn in half, the earth shook, all those things definitely, spoke with me. But I don't know, maybe it's just because we're going into it during Halloween, I don't know. But just to really think, could you imagine, if you weren't even really near that, and you didn't always know what was going on in those moments and times, and you're just in the city, and your cousin who just maybe had died, and it doesn't really say how long these believers were dead, but could you imagine this person that you had kind of already been mourning for, you're been kind of going through this, and then all of a sudden you're getting water from the well, and then you turn around and there's Johnny who is standing there talking to you. I could only imagine the emotion, the I'm sure some fear, some unknowingness, just this awe that all of a sudden he's just standing there talking to you and just saying, hey, so how's the day? It'd be a little weird, to say the best. So, what are some other scary stories recorded in the Bible? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on that. It does mark some other stories that you might be able to dig into. We just didn't have the time to do that today, but it says here 1 Samuel 28, 2 Kings 13:20, and Acts 12:23. And then here up the top, that one that we didn't go into a whole lot here was Job 41. When I think of Job, I always think of his actual struggles. There's the creature that's in there, and it kind of talks about that. And so maybe even going over that one would be kind of cool. Again, what do you guys think? It'd be cool to be able to hear back from what you guys think and see, and just things that you guys kind of latch on to. So on that note, God bless. And this weekend, I think, is just as good as any week, maybe more, to remember to, as you guys are out celebrating, to unlock that cage. God bless.